welcome to the Deep Dive. Okay, so today we're looking at some really interesting stuff you brought in. These are excerpts from Gavin Kennedy's book, Adam Smith, A Moral Philosopher. And the plan is to get beyond the usual sound bites, isn't it? To really explore Adam Smith's ideas on, well, morality, society, and how that all connects to his economics, looking for maybe some surprising connections.
That's exactly right. You know, it's so easy to just think of Adam Smith in terms of like the invisible hand or pure free markets. But this source material, it really helps us see the bigger picture. Smith was fundamentally a moral philosopher. His economic ideas, they were deeply, deeply tied into how he saw human nature and how society sort of evolved over time.
Okay, let's dive in then. So Kennedy suggests Smith's big works, The Theory of Moral Sentiments, Wealth of Nations, they aren't really separate books, are they? More like parts of one big project. And a key idea that pops up right away is this concept of the impartial spectator. What's that about?
Yes, that's fascinating. Kennedy really emphasizes how Smith explored how we develop our sense of right and wrong. It's not just rules from on high, it's social. The idea is we kind of imagine this impartial observer watching us, you know, and that helps us judge our own actions.
So like society holding up a mirror. I think the source used that metaphor. Without other people, we couldn't really see ourselves or judge our own character properly.
Precisely. It builds our morality from the ground up, from our interactions.
So how does that social stuff, that moral framework, connect to his economics then?
Well, Kennedy points out that Smith saw really basic human behaviors, like our tendency to truck, barter, and exchange as something that just sort of evolved naturally over ages. It wasn't some grand rational plan, you know? It was just this fundamental human thing that then drove developments like the division of labor.
Okay, and this is where it gets really interesting, I think. We all know the pin factory example loads more pins when you specialize. But the source you shared reminds us Smith also used the example of just a regular laborer's woolen coat to show the incredible complexity already there. I mean, the number of people, skills, materials from all over involved in just one simple coat. It wasn't just factories, it was this whole web of exchange.
Exactly. It shows the depth of the division of labor and global connected way before we might think. But this evolution, moving towards these complex commercial societies, it also brought problems. Kennedy discusses how, you know, property rights became a big issue, especially once agriculture allowed people to accumulate more stuff. Suddenly, you needed civil government. You needed justice.
To protect that property, right. The source suggests Smith saw it partly as, well, protecting the few rich from the many poor.
Yeah, that was a key function he identified, but it wasn't all Smith focused on. Kennedy also highlights Smith's arguments for good wages, liberal rewards for labor, he called it. Basically saying, look, no society can really be thriving and happy if most people are poor and miserable.
Makes sense. But he wasn't naive about it either. Kennedy notes Smith saw the power dynamics, the imbalance in bargaining between employers and workers.
Oh, absolutely. He was very clear-eyed about that. And this kind of realism, it extends to his views on government, too. Kennedy's take is that Smith wasn't some dogmatic anti-government guy. He attacked specific policies, the mercantile ones that tried to hoard gold by messing with trade because he thought they were based on bad theory and actually hurt growth.
So he wasn't against government doing anything?
No, not at all. His support for public works, roads, bridges, post offices, that kind of thing was pragmatic. Did it help commerce? Was it useful? Could it maybe pay for itself? It wasn't about ideology. It was about utility.
Okay. And the big one, the invisible hand.
Yeah.
What does Kennedy say about that? Because that gets thrown around a lot.
Right. And Kennedy really stresses, this was a metaphor, Smith used it like 3 times in all his writings. And in Wealth of Nations, it was specifically about merchants choosing to invest locally because it felt safer. That preference unintentionally benefited the home economy. It wasn't some universal guarantee that self-interest always produces good outcomes.
That's a key distinction.
Definitely. Kennedy points out Smith gave plenty of examples where self-interest caused problems. Think about his critique of early corporations, joint stock companies, where managers were careless because they were playing with other people's money, not their own.
So pulling this all together, looking at Smith through this lens, through Kennedy's analysis, what's the main takeaway?
Well, I think it shows us a much more nuanced Adam Smith, not the simple caricature. He was a moral philosopher first, thinking deeply about human interactions, social evolution, justice.
and how economic systems fit into that whole picture, aiming for policies that actually improve life for most people, not just promoting markets for their own sake.
Exactly. His economics grew out of his philosophy and his reading of history, not the other way around.
That really does reframe things. It leaves you thinking. Given Smith's focus on, unintended consequences and the complexities of self-interest versus the public good, what parts of our modern economy today might he find particularly problematic or interesting to analyze?